Right now, let's swing on with Bobby Day and his very, very big hit national record of Rockin' Robin. Here it is. He rocks in the treetops all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet. Slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Every little swallow, every chickadee, every little bird in the tall oak tree. The wise old loud, the big black crow, flap of their wings, sing and go, birds go. Rockin' Robin, sweet, sweet, rockin' Robin, sweet, sweet. Slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Sweet love. A pretty little raven at the birdman stand taught him how to do the bop, and it was grand. They started going steady and bless my soul. He out-bopped the buzzard and the Oreo. He rocks in the treetops all the day long, hopping and a popping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin, tweet. Slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Well, the pretty little raven at the birdman stand taught him how to do the bop, and it was grand. They started going steady and bless my soul. He out-bopped the buzzard and the Oreo. He rocks in the treetops all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet. Rockin' Robin, slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight.
Hey guys, one of my favorite songs, Rockin' Robin. How about you, Lewis? I saw you
love
dancing
this
back
song. I
there.
was like, everybody, I was having a good time back there. Yes, that was awesome. Awesome. Great choice.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, so welcome everybody to SBG Health, where knowledge is power and healing is your birthright. And I'm Lisa Richards, frequency influencer and advocate for conscious living. And this, of course, is my lovely co-host, Lewis HERMS, the next governor of California, and a relentless freedom, transparency, and true health. And
My favorite part was lovely. I'm the lovely.
I figured. Let's bring on our lovely guest.
Yes.
Cristin Lovely Ludlow.
I can't compete with Lewis.
I saw her dancing in the background as well.
Better than I was, that's for sure.
So fun.
So today's guest is on a mission to revolutionize how we care for our pets. Cristin Ludlow and her husband, Kurt, are the founders of PETCLUB 24/7. It's a brand that's redefining pet nutrition by focusing on truth, transparency, and real healing, starting with what goes in your pet's bowl. And with decades of combined experience in the health and wellness industries, of course, pet industries, they've seen firsthand how poor nutrition leads to chronic illness, behavioral issues, and even premature death in our pets, and how the right food can completely turn that around. And today, we're asking the bold question, are you failing your pet? And we're going to find out. Welcome, Cristin.
Thank you for having me, Lisa, and good day, Governor. I love it. It'll never get old.
So let's start with this, Cristin. What do most pet owners think that they're actually doing right, but they're actually getting wrong when it comes to feeding their pets?
I think the biggest challenge, being certified in pet nutrition that we run into is just the false advertising. There is so much false advertising, manipulative marketing going on. We see bags of dog food with pictures of vegetables raining down from heaven, and we think, oh, this is good for my pet. This must be healthy. We see all the keywords or the right fonts, and then we think it's something good. And then when we actually get educated and learn about ingredients and about processing and about different words that they're using to even mask other words that they discontinued using because we figured it out. For example, we know about non-GMO, GMO, that's bad. Now they're changing it to bioengineered. And so just little things like that that are getting past us and we're not aware of. And unfortunately, because we think that we're doing the right thing, come to find out that we find out the food we're giving our pets, one of the 13 worst foods that you can possibly give your pet. The number one most sold food is the number one worst food that we can give our pet. And so that's the biggest challenge that I run into when I'm talking with pet parents is just not knowing. We just don't know. And then we're buying it because the package is pretty, and then finding out later what all of those things actually mean and how detrimental those ingredients or those ways of processing are to our pet's health and well-being. Put the two words together.
Right. Well, I know when I first got with Sean, he has a dog that's part coonhound and part Rottweiler. He calls her a rot-coon. But she was always so itchy, and fleas were just hoarding her all the time, no matter what you did for her. And all I did was switch her food. He, of course, didn't know any difference. He was giving her the shittiest brand of food, the cheapest stuff that he could find, and he didn't know that's what was causing her itchy skin. That's what was causing the fleas to be attracted to her all the time. And we didn't have a lot of money to invest in a higher end food, but we did a mid-grade, and it changed her health drastically just by doing that.
It's so frustrating. And, you think, how would it be allowed, right? Like you'd think if it's in a store, it must be okay. It must be safe. If I'm buying it from this big box store, if I'm buying it from this online seller that's reputable, then this brand must be okay. And that's what we've learned, is that the pet food and treat industry is very loosely regulated. And they're getting away with a lot of stuff that would never be okay, even in the human world, with as bad as that has become. It's even worse in the pet industry. Like a perfect example, byproducts, animal byproducts. You just think, oh, those are just the other parts of the animal. But what the word animal byproduct actually means is these are the unclean meat sources. And they found euthanized animals, roadkill, animals that are too sick for human consumption are sold to pet food manufacturers at a discount. And that's what they're putting in the food and calling it animal byproducts. So with all of these little things, and that's just one of the things that they're doing and the little loopholes that they found because it's so loosely regulated. And so it feels like an uphill battle to try and fight against that. 90% of the brands that we're all familiar with and that we know of are made by only 3 companies, and all 3 of those are candy companies. So that explains a lot of why they're getting so sick, and there's sugar and everything, and everything's artificial and synthetic. But it feels like an uphill battle, but we can actually do something about it by, number 1, educating ourselves, and then number 2, doing something different. Like that's the path of least resistance, because we can't get these guys to change their formulas. We can't get them to care, because they're all about the money, right? It's all about the bottom line and how much they're going to profit. And these regulations and how loosely regulated it is, like it's going to take forever to get them to change the laws. So what we have to do is stop buying the crappy brands, educate ourselves, and start supporting the people that actually care.
So, real quick, Cristin, I'm under the impression that they even allow guano, which is bat feces and rat feces, in the food. Completely let it bypass. That's not part of their restrictions. Is that correct?
It's not regulated at all. Like they found with the euthanized animals, they found pieces of plastic and metal and from this, and I hate to get so graphic, but they just put the entire animal into the grinder that still have collars on them and have those things on them. And it's just getting all ground up and just spit out. It's not clean. It's not monitored. It's not tested for purity or contaminants, none of that. It literally just, everything goes into the machine and it just spits it all out, almost like a meal, like a powder. And then that's what's getting dispersed.
So if I'm hearing this right, if they have collars on, they were somebody's pet, and therefore our pets are eating somebody else's pet.
Right.
They're literally cannibalizing in the pet market. Wow.
In some of them, in some cases, and you can even go online. You can just look up the cases that were brought up where they found the drug, the euthanization drug, in the food against a couple of different manufacturers. So what does that tell you? That they're taking euthanized animals from these locations and grinding it all up and then putting it in our pets' food. Animal byproducts are one of the most toxic things that we can give our pets, and it's in a lot of the major brands and the major treats that are out there. Like, you'd be surprised if you went to the grocery store and just look at the back of every bag. You'd be shocked at how many have animal byproducts in them. And I want to be clear, not all byproducts are like that, but the fact that these instances have been caught, and there are some cases of it, makes you wary of all of it, because there's no way for us to differentiate as consumers. Okay, well, is this the byproduct that's just the beak and the other parts of the animal, or is this the byproduct that's the roadkill or the sick animals or the euthanized animals? Because there's no way for us to differentiate as a consumer.
Right. Well, the problem is they allow it. That's the biggest problem, that it's allowed. Therefore, why would you buy food where it's even allowed?
So do you think these facilities where they're getting the euthanized pets are selling them the carcasses? Like, is it some sort of a deal that they have where if they kill these pets, they can sell them for profit for their organization?
What they do is, it's kind of like what's happened, with the seed oils, how they were not originally meant for food. They were originally meant to clean machines and do all of these other things. And then they found out that they could also be used in the processing of food. And so they were taking the waste and selling it to food manufacturers and processors and making it ingredients in food. It's the same thing. It's the leftover stuff that, instead of just getting rid of it, they're like, oh, maybe we can make a few bucks selling these as protein sources, as meat sources for these different manufacturers and companies.
Wow, that's crazy. That is so crazy. And then we have Putin coming out saying that the Americans don't know that we're eating each other. Our pets are doing the same thing, right?
I mean, across the board.
Oh my good Lord. So how about you touch on this? What are the big differences between raw feeding, fresh feeding, freeze-dried, and kibble?
Those are some really great questions. Of course, raw is the optimal diet for our pet. That's what they do out in the wild. 80% of their diet is actually raw. But there are some challenges with raw. For example, dogs, cats in the wild, when they do have a kill or when they do eat raw, they actually go for the organs first, because that's where the majority of the vitamins and the minerals are. And then the stuff that we eat, the fillet and all of that stuff, is just the outside, like the leftovers of it. Because there are still nutrients in it, but most of the nutrients are found in the organs. And so a lot of people don't know that. And so they have a tough time giving their pet a balanced diet where they're getting enough of those vitamins and the minerals that they need. Also, raw can be really challenging because it's so much more expensive and harder to do. There's always that convenience factor, but it definitely is more biologically appropriate. It is the best diet and the most natural diet that you can give your pet. And it also, like you said, it helps with a lot of those allergies and skin issues and, teeth issues and a lot of the problems that our pets are getting. When you go to raw, it's almost like those things disappear overnight. And it's because the higher moisture content, it's because it's more bioavailable, it's easier for them to metabolize. It's just how their bodies have evolved, and it's naturally what they know how to consume. But if you are feeding raw, you do want to make sure that you're not getting contaminated meat. We run into that a lot, unfortunately. People that are feeding raw thinking they're doing the right thing, and then their pets get salmonella or E. coli, which is not only dangerous for your pet, but also dangerous for us as well, because then it can cross-contaminate other surfaces. And so you just have to be aware of that. The other challenge with the raw are the nutritional imbalances. So there are so many great resources online where you can learn how to build a nutritionally balanced raw diet for your pet based off of their breed, their age. Like, it can be very specific. There are apps out there that are available that can give you the recommendations for what the best diet would be for your pet. So raw, of course, is my favorite. And it is the most natural thing for your pet. Now, kibble is not the optimal diet, but it's what the majority of people are doing. 80% of people have their pets on a kibble dry food diet. And so if you are feeding your pet kibble because it's more convenient, because it's more affordable, because you know that it's balanced, most of the kibble, the good kibble, is AAFCO approved, which means that it's nutritionally balanced for your pet. I know a lot of people that feed their pets raw and then they supplement and do a little bit of kibble as well, just to make sure that they're getting those minerals and nutrients that they need. But the challenge with kibble is the way that most of the kibble is processed. Like, the majority of the kibble processed at very high temperatures, where it's charring the kibble, it's creating carcinogens, which is partially why a lot of our pets are getting cancer at younger and younger ages. They're using animal byproducts, they're using fillers, and things that they can get addicted to, preservatives, sugars, chemicals, allergens like wheat, corn, soy. They're not sourcing their ingredients responsibly, so a lot of it can be contaminated. We can find a lot of unwanted stuff in it. So there are concerns with the kibble. Also, just very low moisture content is hard on our pet's digestive system. You think about what they eat in the wild. They eat the raw meat, the grasses, the berries, a much higher moisture content. And then we in America feed our pet the same meal every day for their entire life.
Yeah.
With absolutely no variety. Can you imagine eating cereal without milk? Just every single day, cereal for every meal, every day.
So I heard that you're supposed to, if you feed them kibble, you're supposed to put water on it. Is that true?
You can do that, yeah, but make sure they have a lot of fresh water with them. Also, what I always recommend, make sure there are no fillers. So take a piece of their kibble and drop it in the water and see if it expands. This is really important, because what do our dogs do when we feed them? They go eat the food really, really fast, and then they instantly chug water to try to rehydrate themselves. So if the food has fillers in it, it's now expanding inside of their stomach, sometimes 2 to 3 times its normal size. So we run into pet parents a lot that say, well, my pets throw up after they eat, or they get really lethargic or bloated. That's why, because there are fillers in the food causing it to expand inside of the pet's stomach. So if you do add a little bit of water to it beforehand, if there are fillers in it, allow it to kind of expand before your pet eats it. So then it's not doing that inside of their digestive system and causing a lot of discomfort and pain and maybe even some problems. So, we're really adamant also about making sure, like, most of the kibbles cooked at about 400 degrees. We cook ours at 200 because that makes it so there aren't any of those harmful byproducts from the cooking process, from the high extrusion points. So we make sure that whatever kibble you're giving your pets is baked at low temperatures and also doesn't have any of those artificial or synthetic ingredients. Now, freeze-dried is the best, like the happiest medium. It's a more expensive process. It's harder to do. So a lot of times freeze-dried foods will cost a little bit more, but usually it's not as much as what a raw diet would cost. You still have the convenience of the longer shelf life. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. So it's easier to work with, especially if you travel a lot. You like go in an RV and travel a lot. The freeze-dried's easier to bring with you and manage. Also has a higher moisture content for your pet because you do add water to it before they eat it. So that positively impacts their digestive system. But the freeze drying process retains 200% more nutrients than the kibble baking process. So I always recommend, if you can afford it, freeze dried is the best thing that you can get your pet if you want that convenience and you want that well-balanced, nutritionally balanced meal for them. And if you have a tough time affording it, you can even just add small amounts of it. So let's say you do have kibble, you can maybe use a little bit of freeze-dried as a topper, or give them a little bit of freeze-dried as a treat, just so that they're getting all of those additional nutrients into their system. And of course, the canned food is also really good because it's a higher moisture content, but you have to watch for those ingredients because they're doing the same thing in the canned food that they're doing in the kibble. There's all kinds of nasty stuff in there. And you see these canned foods and you think they're good. There's like only 3 ingredients. And you're like, oh, great, that's great, right? It doesn't have all that other junk in it. But then you look at the actual profile for the nutrients that your pet needs. They're not getting it from only 3 ingredients. That's not going to be enough for them. So I know I just went over a lot of the food.
No, that's good.
In a little bit of time, but it's just important that people are knowing what to look for. And I really, really encourage you, if your pet is eating kibble, if you're feeding them kibble or canned food, please check the brand that you're using. Make sure it's AAFCO guidelines, that they adhere to those guidelines, because that's the only regulatory organization really in the industry, and no one's required to adhere to those. So if you do have a brand that's adhering to those, that means they're going above and beyond to make sure that they're giving something that is quality for your pet, that's not going to harm them.
Is there anything in regards, is it called, there's an ingredient called, is it carrageenan or carrageenan or something like that? That I've seen flagged a lot in regards to pet food to watch out for.
Carrageenan?
Yeah, is it carrageenan maybe?
Oh, carrageenan. Oh, so it's being used as the thickener. Yeah, see, and those are something, it's not only used in the foods, it's used in a lot of cosmetics and stuff as well. The easiest way, because there are so many words that we think are healthy, but they're designed to be fillers. Perfect example, in a lot of the grain-free foods that we're giving our pets, you'll see that peas, beans, and lentils, which sound like healthy whole foods, you'll see them listed multiple times within the first 5 to 7 ingredients, like pea flour, pea powder, pea protein.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, why are there so many different forms of peas? So what these manufacturers are doing is they're using cheap protein fillers as an alternative to the meat because it's less expensive. But what's happening is, because they're fillers, it's expanding inside of their stomach. It's too nutritionally dense for our pets to be able to digest in those higher volumes. It's okay in small volumes. Like, it's okay if they have a small amount of them, but if you see it listed multiple times within the first 5 ingredients, that's something that you should be aware of. So carrageenan, peas, beans, lentils, anything that they're using as a filler or a thickener, you want to be careful of those and make sure it's not listed within the first couple of ingredients. There's actually a study done, it was actually a case done by the FDA about grain-free food, and people thought that grain-free food was causing heart conditions in pets. Well, it wasn't the fact that it was grain-free that these pets were having this DCM heart issue. It was because the manufacturers that were making the grain-free foods were using way too much cheap protein fillers, like the peas and the beans and the lentils.
Yeah.
That's what was causing the heart condition.
It's interesting, the lack of common sense, where people would say the reason why your pets are getting sick is because of grain-free foods. I'm sorry, I've never seen a wild dog or a wild cat go into a cornfield or a wheat field and start feeding. I mean, they don't naturally eat grain, right? They will eat some dark green vegetation, but that's about it. It's fascinating that people would even think that.
Yeah, they think, oh, it's because it's happening when people are feeding the grain-free foods. But then you see, people that have their pets on a chicken and rice diet for their whole lives and have absolutely no problems whatsoever. So again, it just comes down to these little shortcuts that the manufacturers are using. They're compromising the quality ingredients for filler ingredients. And what's happened is, while maybe it was innocent to begin with, getting an extra penny here, an extra penny there, but what's happened as it's compounded over time, over several decades, is that food is like not even categorized as food anymore. Many of the foods that we're giving our pets are actually categorized as medicine, not food, because it's so artificial and synthetic.
Right, right. And isn't it true that in pet food they use what we are now starting to outlaw, red dye number 40,
Yep.
on almost virtually every pet food that's on the market in a very high volume?
Yep. They're using the dyes, they're using chemicals, sugars to make them addicted. And you know why they add the dyes? It's to make it attractive for us.
Right.
Because if we look at it and it doesn't look uniform, or it doesn't exhilarate us, then we will be less likely to buy it for our pets. But people think, oh, it'll stimulate my pet. Even these toys, all these toys that we're giving our pets with all these colors, they're colorblind.
We're colorblind, right?
It
Exactly.
could be like shades of yellow, blue, and everything is brown. And we're buying these red and orange and purple toys, and they're made that way not to stimulate our pet, it's to stimulate us. For that product to stand out, so we'll choose that product over the maybe natural brown one next to it that's completely untreated. So they're putting the dyes in everything, and your pets, they're swallowing bits and pieces of everything. Like, how many times have you thought, where did that toy go? They must have gone and buried it in the backyard, or maybe they lost it, but most of the time they're actually swallowing it.
That's right.
And you don't know unless you have to do some type of emergency surgery, or they are able to pass it themselves by the grace of God. That's now stuck inside of their stomach for the rest of their lives, slowly poisoning them from the inside out with all those dyes and the chemicals. And a tennis ball, an innocent tennis ball, has so many chemicals on it to make it more bouncy that we're just unaware of. So I always tell people, if it's not a food or a treat you're willing to eat yourself, if it's not a toy you're willing to lick yourself and put in your own mouth, don't give it to your pets. Because your own intuition, you should apply that to your pets as well.
Well, I often chew on tennis balls myself, so I guess you shouldn't use me as the model.
I've seen the photos, but I didn't want to bring it up live.
I bought some tennis balls from the dollar store before, and they smell like gasoline or something.
Yes, they do.
Don't they?
Yes.
That's crazy. So one thing I wanted to touch on was we actually started raising rabbits for specifically raw feeding our dogs. Because I was concerned about the health aspects and the affordability even of a real good quality kibble. Kibble is easy to conveniently feed to your dogs, but it wasn't providing what I would like it to. And it's actually becoming quite a hobby for me now, is getting this rabbitry started. And a lot of people, I know they're like, how can you do this? Kill these cute little baby rabbits. And I do it because I love my dogs. And if I'm not going to do it, somebody else will be killing their food for them. And you don't know, just like you said, what actually that is. It could be a dead animal that's been sick its whole entire life, that has a cancerous tumor, and they grind that up right along with it.
Yeah.
And you don't know. They're talking about you killing rabbits over a steak dinner.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and it's hard. It is hard to do, but if you take full control over your food, it's something that you would have to live with, because I know that my family and myself will be able to survive if something were bad happen in this world, right?
You need. And you hit the nail on the head. You know where it came from. You know what they're being fed. You know the conditions that they're being raised on. You know that they're being treated with love and kindness and care. And when it is their time to sacrifice themselves for your dogs to be able to enjoy them and to live, you know that animal is passing that love and that care on to your pets as well. But when you look at the meat industry just in general, the way that they're treating these animals is horrible. What they're pumping into them, the hormones, the antibiotics, the steroids, they're all just crushed together. There's no love, there's no warmth. They're carrying all of this fear, and they're carrying all of this unwellness, and then you feed it to your pets, and now that's getting transferred to them. Yeah. And it's so important. We have people all the time that say, well, I can't feed my pets chicken because they're allergic to chicken. It's very rare for a dog to be allergic to the actual chicken protein. most of the time they're having a reaction to the quality of the chicken that you're giving them, because they're raised in such poor conditions, because they're pumped with all the antibiotics and steroids. They're reacting to the quality of the chicken, not the fact that it is chicken. And so we actually have a chicken kibble. And I see that all the time. People like, I can't feed my pets chicken. And I'm like, let's give it a try. Absolutely zero reaction. And it just comes down to if you're using clean meat sources and how you're treating the animals truly.
Right. And people don't understand that energetic component
Exactly.
of the meat. If you, well, it's just like if you're a deer hunter, right? In archery season, when the deer are in rut, which means the buck is hormone crazy and chasing the doe everywhere, you shoot one of those buck, the meat's going to be super tough. That's not usually something you're going to eat steak from because of all the adrenaline rushing through its muscles. You're eating that, right? Whereas if it was in the wintertime when they're more relaxed and you did shoot one, it would be very tender, you know? But you're consuming that energy.
Yeah, we saw a funny, like it was a cutout from a newspaper. This was years ago. And it was, you hunters, you're so inhumane. The way that you go out and you hunt those animals, why don't you just do it the right way and get it from the grocery store like all of us? And it's like, you realize that hunters are like the most respectful of nature and understand and honor the sacrifice that animals are making for us. They're like the most respectful people ever. And she was like, you should get it from the grocery store like the rest of us.
You know, and there's this lack of common sense again, because you think about it, a deer is running wild, enjoying their whole life, right? And then they're taken down in an instant second. They usually don't even feel it if it's a good shot.
Yeah.
Or you can go ahead and put a cow in a cage for 3 years where it can barely move sideways, and then they know they're being slaughtered because their neighbor's being slaughtered. Then they know they're going to slaughter. Their hormones and their cortisol levels, just like us, are going through the roof, right? And then you go ahead and slaughter them, and people think that's humane. And it amazes me that there's just no thought process in those type of conversations. They just spout out something immediately like, yeah, that's what's wrong with the university system.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so I've heard this years ago, 90% of the antibiotics in the US go to our commercial farming animals because they're so sick. And so when we consume that as humans, we're ingesting the meat that's antibiotic laden, the milk, the eggs, and it's creating us to become antibiotic resistant. So that's why when you go to the doctor and you get an antibiotic, it's not working, and you go back for a second one and that one's not working. 3 or 4 rounds now people are on and they're still not working, and I'm sure it's the same with the animals as well. But you take them to the vet numerous times, that's just way more profit for them, which is so sad.
Chronic ear infections, eye infections, teeth infections that will not go away. They're after multiple rounds of antibiotics to get rid of the infection. But what the antibiotics are actually doing is completely depleting and wiping out all of the good flora and bacteria in the gut, which takes years to replenish and regenerate. And then it's not getting rid of the infection in the first place. It's just, it's a clever little cycle that has been created. Create the problem, solve the problem, but don't actually solve the problem, mask the problems so that you're dependent on the solution for the rest of the life of the pet or for the person. It's a clever little cycle that they've set up that we've all been a part of for too long. But that's why I love, like, especially if you're feeding your pets raw, or even for ourselves, like, I love that people are learning this, and we're supporting local farmers. We're going to ranchers that are ethical, that are treating the animals well and doing things ethically. And we know that it's pure, and we know that, we don't have to worry about any of those things. I'm so grateful that the awareness is raising in that area, because you're right, Lisa, it is an energetic thing and it is dragging us down, and we have to break the cycle. Like, we have to pull out of it and do it different.
Right. Absolutely. So you already covered a few things like the allergies and the ear infections and stuff, but what other red flags would pet owners, what would they look for, if it was food related issues?
Yeah, obviously the stool, you want to make sure it's not too hard, it's not too runny. If they're not going often enough or they're going way too much. And again, there are a ton of resources online where you can look up and see what should it look like? What should the consistency of it be? The allergies, if they're scratching, itching a lot, have a lot of dander, that's usually a sign that there's something in their food that their body's reacting to. Also, their energy levels, if they're very lethargic and they're not playing as much, they're not running around, they're having a tough time doing things. That's something to look for. Another thing that we found is this new phenomenon where in our pets, their back legs literally just go out. They just army crawl around the house. And even veterinarians are like, what is causing this? It's just this new thing that's happening more and more and more to our pets. And it's happening at younger ages. It used to be happening when they got older, 11, 12, 13. Now it's happening when they're like 5, 6, 7 years old. And so all of these things are telling us that there's an issue with their food. There's an issue with their digestive system. Their immune system has definitely been compromised, because their own immune system should be able to handle the allergies. It should be able to repair, rebuild, rebalance, regulate, resolve everything that's happening inside of the body. So seeing them react to foods in those ways also tells you that their immune system has been horribly compromised. And there are a lot of things that are leading to that, the foods, the chemicals we clean with and put in the yards, the water quality, the air quality, the over vaccinations. Like there's just a lot of things that are contributing to the weakening of our pet's immune system. But when their bodies are reacting that way, people's natural response is to go treat the symptoms, right? Like, okay, well, I need to give them Benadryl, or I need to give them Apoquel, or I need to give them something to help them stop itching or help them, the dander, whatever it may be. But like you said, that just masks the problem, and they have it for the rest of their lives. And now they're taking all this stuff that's doing irreversible damage to their organs, when just go to the root cause, like change the food. Then that changes their reaction, and then you don't have to go down that path. And keep their immune system supported, feed them foods that support their immune system, and watch the immune system go to the source of whatever's creating the problem in the first place, the root cause of it, and then watch the symptoms go away.
Absolutely. So what kind of food do you guys offer? Like, what do you do differently that could help people take control of their pet's health?
Yeah, we want to be a good voice for our pets that don't have one, and we want to be good stewards with everything that God's given us. So we work very hard and diligently to make sure that when people are choosing the options that we're able to offer, whether it is the kibble or the canned food or the freeze-dried food, that they know that we're aware of a lot of the issues that are happening, and that we're intentionally doing things differently so that our pets don't have to go through what they're going through. So we bake our kibble, for example, very low temperatures, around 200 degrees. There's nothing artificial or synthetic in them at all. Everything's naturally sourced. 100% is of our products are pure, natural, organic, being tested regularly for purity. So you don't have a lot of those contaminants that are making their way into, the food supply currently for our pets. Even our freeze-dried food, we add additional supplementation to it. We add an immune-supporting mushroom called the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. We have a really pure and potent strain of that. So they're not only getting those minerals and those nutrients that they need, but they're also getting that additional immune support so their own bodies can do what it was intelligently designed to do, and rebalance and repair and restore itself. And even in our kibble and our canned food, we add prebiotics and probiotics, because like you said, so many of our pets are getting antibiotics pumped into them for so long, whether knowingly or unknowingly, and their microbiome is all out of whack. It's just horribly off balance. And so we put naturally sourced prebiotics and probiotics in both our canned food and our kibble to try to help their bodies replenish and restore that good flora.
Did you have any questions about the food, Lewis? I'm going to go a little bit off topic with a couple other questions before we end, but
Well, I've had with my pets, they've had a phenomenal results with the special sauce and with the cookies. My big old German Shepherd, we can't give him the mush puppies because he's so huge. We give him the mush ponies,
Yeah.
right? And as you know, if it has to be, if it's good enough for the pets, it has to be good enough for us, right?
Mhm.
So of course, my wife just delivered me a mush pony. Mm.
That's what I love about Lewis, and that's why he should be the governor of the world. Is he doesn't just say things; he is the example. Like he is the person that he needs to be to do the things that need to be done. And I just respect you so much because of that.
Appreciate
Thank you
that.
for being the example
But they taste great.
and eating the horse cake.
Yep. This is a mush pony. They're a lot thicker than the normal ones.
Mhm.
But
are they dog treats? What are they? I'm not
yeah, they
sure. Are
So
they?
it's a dog treat this is for the horses, right? But I use it for my big dog.
Okay.
I give him the mush ponies because he's huge. He loves them.
Yeah.
So every periodically, and I think you and Kurt saw me do this in an event, I think in Florida. I'll literally just go, I want to make sure it's good. You know what I mean? If I'm going to give it to my dog, I want to make sure it's not poison, so I eat it myself. And it's you can just tell it's so natural. There's no chemical taste. There's nothing in it whatsoever. So, hey, I know I'm having fun with it, but hey, I get my versicolor mushroom today, don't I?
You get that immune support, and that's an important point. All of our products are all human grade whole foods made in human grade kitchens. It literally is no different from a cookie you would make for yourself in your own kitchen.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good to know. I mean, how many pet foods can you actually trust? How many actually say that?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't eat
crazy.
Yeah.
So this is something that I've always pondered, and I'm sure maybe it's a stupid question, but why is there not mouse flavored, squirrel flavored, chipmunk flavored, like cat foods? They love those. That's what my cats eat all the time.
Yeah, and that a lot of times just comes down to sustainability of the meat sources and all of that type of stuff. But because there are more chicken or beef or duck or rabbit that's more available to manufacturers for them to use. But you're right, that's what they love. They love the little rodents and the little birds and stuff. That's what they love to eat. Those are the gifts that they bring us, right?
Oh, every day.
There's probably a negative marketing connotation to that too, because the two of you are very versed in what's healthy and what animals would really eat in the wild. But can you imagine people have problem with somebody killing a deer to eat it? If you go, hey, yeah, so just go ahead and pick up your rat today, and we'll make sure it's the best rat available for your cats. Many people probably go, oh, I'm not going to do that. Now I would understand that because that's their natural hunting ground.
Right.
Which in fact, what's interesting is Robert Imbriali, a friend of ours, has a story having his cat on this product where he was about couldn't do nothing, wouldn't jump on the bed anymore, didn't do anything. He started getting back on the good food, and his cat was eating or going out and finding rats in the fields and mice in the fields like crazy because he had so much energy. So it's cool.
I felt good again, so he could go do what he loves to do.
What he loves to do, exactly.
Mhm.
I heard something that there's some sort of legality against rats being
Definitely.
used for food because they're kind of like protected to be used for science somehow.
What?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into it more. I don't know.
It just reminds me that everything is made up by people.
Yeah.
Everything's just made up.
Just
Yeah.
made
What?
up. I
Well, so
agree.
there's a couple other things I'd like you to touch on real quick and just give us your opinion. It's not about food, but there's a lot of things that I'm seeing now in both of these. One being that the microchips are causing cancerous tumors in the dogs around the site where it's injected. Have you been hearing anything about that? Which would make
Yeah,
sense. It's emitting a frequency all the time, right?
that's just not natural for our pet. And anything, it's frustrating because I understand you want to protect your pet, you want to know where they are and everything, but it's just so unnatural. Like there should not be a chip in anything living. It's so unnatural. And so of course the body on a cellular level is going to respond to that. It's going to create inflammation. It's going to create tumors. We're finding even with the over vaccination, more and more pets are getting tumors at the site of injections where they're getting the injections. And do you remember not long ago, like 20 years ago, when we used to get our pets shots or get vaccinated, they do it up in their shoulders, by their neck. And now they do it in their back legs, in their thigh. And that's because it's easier to remove tumors from the back leg than it is to remove it from the shoulder.
Wow.
Probably why all the dogs are becoming paralyzed in the back legs now too, right?
Legs are giving out on them. So anything that's unnatural that's being injected to the body or implanted into the body, the body's going to respond. And I think the immune system is incredible. I had no idea what it was capable of. But did you know, like we've seen animals with tumors where their own immune system does surgery on their body. It opens up the skin, it pushes out the tumor, and then it closes up the skin. We've seen areas where there was like a pus buildup. It opens up a tiny little hole. It drains it itself and then closes up the hole. But we've just been so conditioned when our pets are going through those things to get the surgery, go get the treatment, go get the procedure done. We don't know what the body's actually capable of doing on its own, if it has the right support or if it has what it needs to do those things. And so I think that's what a lot of these tumors are. I think it's the body's response of creating inflammation in the area, trying to get rid of it, trying to maybe push it out.
Right. That makes sense. So another thing, we just got a Rottweiler puppy. So I was doing some research. He's about 9 months old. He's a beast now, but I can't believe how fast they grow. But one thing that I found was that you shouldn't fix your pet right away. That you should wait, or if you can just not do it at all, because that helps them develop the girth, like the big Rottweiler girth, the strength, the muscle mass, the bone structure, right?
Changing all their hormone levels. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's one thing. So women, when women get a hysterectomy or something, they get put on synthetic hormones, right? Why don't we do that with our dogs?
I know.
I don't know. Just let them go without. So it's crazy. It's crazy. But we're going to try that. We're not fixing our dog. We have 2 females that aren't fixed, and we have him that's not fixed. So we'll see how long this lasts. But
that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Hopefully we can.
Whole crew of Beethovens,
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to need more rabbits.
No. Absolutely not. Well, thank you so much, Cristin. Did you have any other questions or anything for Lewis?
I'm good. This was awesome. I appreciate you coming on.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. You're always so knowledgeable. We don't even have to say anything. We could just put you on all day and you can educate everybody. You're so knowledgeable. We really appreciate you and everything you guys are doing.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to come on and just share what we've learned. Hopefully, if we can even just save one animal, make life better for one animal, it's all worth it. So I appreciate you guys opening up your platform to help educate people. You guys are the best.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Well, lots of love to everybody. We'll see you next week.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife.
I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me.
And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
God bless the USA.
God bless the USA.
Am I the only one willing to bleed? Take a bullet for being free. Screaming what the hell at my TV for telling me, yeah, you're telling me that I'm the only one willing to fight for my love of the red and white. and the blue burning on the ground. Another statue coming down in a town near you. Watching the threads of old glory come undone. Am I the only one?
One day, one day, one day, oh, one day, I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God make us sweet USA.
Everybody, we are taking our country back.